Hello! In this session, we are going to talk about Official Development Assistance, ODA. In previous sessions, I introduced Korea's commitment to contributive diplomacy, which is written in Korea's Indo-Pacific strategy. If you look at it more closely, we can find this phrase that Korea is planning to increase its ODA volume to reach to the world's top 10 levels. Then, what is ODA? Why don't we ask Eileen and ask her what ODA is?
To answer the question, what is ODA, we will have a look at the definition of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. According to that, ODA stands for Official Development Assistance, and it is defined as government aid that promotes and specifically targets the economic development and welfare of developing countries. Thus, ODA includes, for instance, financial flows that aim to contribute to sustainable development, poverty reduction, and improving the living conditions in recipient nations, while flows regarding, for example, military purposes are not included. ODA was adopted as the gold standard of foreign aid in 1969 by the DAC, and it still remains the main source of financing for development aid today. In this context, it is important to know that the DAC, standing for Development Assistance Committee, is a part of the OECD and responsible for setting international standards for ODA and coordinating the efforts of donor countries in supporting development projects. Usually, aid in that context appears in the form of grants, soft loans, and the provision of technical assistance. Here, under soft loans, we understand those where the grant element is a minimum of 25%. This percentage, however, can differ depending on the exact type of ODA that is given. Official development assistance should be provided by official agencies, including states and local governments, or by their executive agencies, either in bilateral form or channeled through a multilateral development agency, such as the United Nations or the World Bank. The OECD is regularly collecting and verifying ODA data and making it publicly available. Based on that, we can also see that the OECD is continuously updating a list of developing countries and territories. And only aid that is given to countries and territories on that list is counted as ODA. Currently, over 150 countries and territories are included in that list.
Thank you, Eileen. Here, you're watching bar charts made by OECD. This is Development Cooperation Profiles of country Korea. If you see the bar chart, you see the red bar, meaning bilateral aid, referring to aid given by a particular country to another particular country. The bar above, the blue and purple parts, means multilateral aid, meaning the Korea's aid given to multilateral organizations such as United Nations, the World Bank, or the IMF, or Africa Development Bank. As you can see in this graph, total volume of Korea's ODA has increased steadily, and the share of multilateral aid has been growing as well. Having hosted the 4th high-level forum on aid effectiveness in Busan in 2011, Korea actively supports the Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation. At the same time, Korea's official development assistance, ODA, has been increasingly growing over the past decade. With a commitment to stepping up to being the 10th largest donor in the world, Korea aims to double ODA volume from 2019 to 2030. As we saw in the bar chart, the bulk of Korea's ODA is provided in a bilateral form, with a significant share of sovereign loans. Here, you are watching a different set of data. Although the Korea's aid volume has been increasing, aid generosity, which means ODA share of GNI, is not really desirable. While ODA DAC targets 0.7%, Korea is still below 0.2%. Similarly, share of untied ODA is still below the targeted 100%. Yet, it is promising that grant element of Korea's total ODA is hovering around the targeted level of 86%. These bars show where Korea's aid is most designated by sector. As you see, social infrastructure is the largest share of Korea's aid, followed by economic infrastructure. This map, on the other hand, shows the regional destination of Korea's ODA. Korea's ODA is mainly given to least developed and lower middle-income countries in Asia and Africa. In 2021, Korea's bilateral ODA was primarily focused on Asia and Africa. 1.1 billion was allocated to Asia, and around 600 million was sent to Africa, which means about 45% of Korea's aid was given to Asia, whereas a quarter of Korea's aid was sent to Africa. These Asia-centered aid giving is related to Korea sending less money to least developed countries. In previous slides, we looked at the broad trend of Korea's ODA. Modality of volume of Korea's aid is based on International Development Cooperation General Basic Plan. Korea joined OECD DAC Development Assistance Committee in 2010 and started to announce Basic Plan for International Development Cooperation, which is the overarching plan for the overall development cooperation of Korea. These basic plans have 5-year span, and today Korea's development cooperation is guided by the 3rd Basic Plan, which is announced in 2021. When the 3rd plan was designed, the world was slowly recovering from the global pandemic, which made people realize the importance of international cooperation and collaboration. Therefore, The third basic plan has this value of inclusive ODA, mutual ODA, renovative ODA, and together ODA, which became the 4 strategic vision of the third plan. The third basic plan is particularly more significant in Korea's ODA history because it was the first time that the government introduced strategic areas that the Korea can help better. Those strategically competitive areas include urbanization and cultural content industry. The government underlines the importance of tailoring Korea's experiences to the needs of aid-receiving countries. This session, we talked about official development assistance. Thank you.